All right, welcome all my friends, welcome all again. And today's an album review. We're taking a look at Sum 41. Does This Look Infected? And just to carry on from the All Killer No Filler review that I did about a month ago or so. And it was really interesting to revisit this one because I was a big fan of Sum 41, the Sums, in definitely in 2001, and then when this released in 2002. And kind of fell off them after that. I remember hearing Chuck and really liking the first single from that record, but that was about where my fandom stopped, I guess you could say. And later, and I checked in with them when Underclass Hero came out. I probably said this in the last video, and I could not stand that one. And so it'll be interesting too, because I'm gonna try to listen to them in order, and I'm looking forward to revisiting Chuck, but there's some trepidation with the other one. This album was released in November of 2002 on the 26th. The lineup in Sum 41 at the time was Derek Whibley on guitar and vocals, Brown Sound, aka Dave Baksh, on lead guitar, and he brought that kind of the chugging metal sound to the band that went missing for a few years when he left. Now he's back, thankfully. Steve Jocks on drums, rather. I think maybe it's just Jock. The Z is silent. I'm not sure. Pretty sure that's a Hungarian name, is it not? Or Polish. And then Jason Cohn McClasson on bass. And the reason why I struggle to remember their names is when we were kids, it was just, Derek and Cohn and Brown Sound. I didn't even know Cohn's name until I looked it up. And whether or not that's in the credits, I can't remember. This one comes with a bonus DVD that I'd recommend nobody watch ever. The first single was Still Waiting, and it says on Wikipedia that came out November 18th. It predated the album on the 26th by 6 or 8 days, rather. Like 8 days? A week? I don't know if Wikipedia could be trusted on that one. I tried to look that one else, or elsewhere, rather, but look it up elsewhere. All to no avail. And I swear, like back in the day, I remember like Foo Fighters, for instance, used to put out their singles like 2 months before the album dropped. So I don't know if that's the case, or if that might be the US single date. If anyone knows that, please let me know. This was recorded in Avatar Studios in New York City, and also the Metalworks Studios in Mississauga, Ontario. And the producer, and you can definitely tell, is Greg Norrie from Trouble Charger. And this one definitely has a harder edge. They're kind of shedding their whole skate punk style, the bratty kind of high school skateboarding getting dumped sort of image and mentality that it was very popular for these pop punk bands to have, but they're kind of shedding that poppy sound, and there's still some hooks, definitely, but they're definitely going in a darker direction, especially lyrically. And yeah, that really shows. This is more akin to their heavy metal heroes in Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, and also their punk contemporaries. They're shedding the pop part and keeping the punk, and sounding much more like their contemporaries in NoFX and Bad Religion, and things to that flavor. And you could tell with Half Hour of Power, like the mission statement was, hey, we're a bunch of kids from from Canada who like punk and heavy metal. And All Killer No Filler is probably going to still remain my favorite, but it is definitely poppy, and I'm sure the band wasn't happy to do that. So yeah, this is a darker tone lyrically. They've definitely matured a lot in a year. So it's a much more substantial offering subject matter wise. So that's good to see. There's lyrics dealing with everything from suicide and drugs to war, and Most famously, these topics are explored in the first single, Hell Song, or The Hell Song, which was the second single and second music video, and deals with one of their friends who had, I guess she was diagnosed with AIDS, and it was a close friend of the band. It's a girl that Derek dated, so there you go. Over My Head is the second song. This is one of the best songs the band ever did, much like the Hell Song. It's definitely a career highlight, and it's a song about finding out what you have done the night prior, kind of like being blackout drunk. Most of us can relate to that. In my mind, it's the catchiest chorus on the record, and it's the sole song that Steve contributed to. Next up is My Direction, which is the briefest song outside of ANIC, which, you know, to me that's more of an interlude, though it is a song actually. But My Direction is really good, very hooky, very, you know, kind of Green Day. I know the band hated being compared to Green Day, because it's like, that's not our heroes, guys, but it's probably the most Green Day they ever sounded, and that's probably why I actually quite like it, because I really like those first four or so Green Day records. Yeah, so Still Waiting, of course, is the aforementioned first single, written after 9/11. According to Derek, it's about the war on everything, his thoughts, all the hatred that's been going around. And, you know, that's, of course, what they say in the chorus. So am I still waiting for this world to stop hating. And, you know, that rings true then and, you know, now, 20 years later, 22 years later, and 22 years prior to that, and probably in 22 years. Like, the world is always at war, and, you know, the human race never learns. There's lots of fear and hatred, and people just, they fear what they don't know, and, you know, that's always a problem. You mustn't do that, but that's what the problem with our human race is. And then ANIC, Anna Goldsmith, is up, you know. Yeah, so I could just do without this, and I would be happy never to hear this again. I know it's kind of like a jokey song or whatever. They dropped it from their set list when Anna Nicole Smith died of an overdose in 2007, and but for some reason it was put back into the set list later on. Yeah, I don't approve of that song. If we're looking at their first three records, that's the low light. Like, yeah, everything, the first four tracks are all really good, and then you have that, and it's like, no one needs this. Maybe they're trying to, like, lighten the mood a little bit. Here's some serious songs, and even In My Direction, which is really, like, it sounds kind of light, and it's catchy, and then Derek does the spoken word thing, where it's like, suicide rates are up this amount, this percent in the US, and it's the #2 killer of youth in Canada, and it's like, woof, like, the catchiest song on the record, and you drop that one on us. But, you know, that's important. Like, it's important that kids knew that, and, you know, hopefully people did their research, you know. No Brains is next. It's about a former band member who was actually the singer. Maybe that when they were called Supernova, or they had some other names when they formed in 1996. I can't believe they formed that early, because when they came out in the year 2000 with It Makes No Difference, I thought they were like some high school kids. Like, I really liked that song, but they looked so young. Anyway, he was best friends with Derek at the time. But obviously, they, and Derek in particular, didn't think very highly of this guy in 2001. All Messed Up is next. It's a catchy song. Really, the album, I feel, kind of throws out its best stuff in the first four tracks. It plays its best hand, and then nothing outside of ANIC, easy for me to say, is bad, but nothing's quite as memorable anymore, and it doesn't hit me quite as hard, but that's just me. I mean, I know a lot of people, this is their favorite Sum 41 record, and while I was listening, I could definitely see why. Mr. Amsterdam is The only one after like track 5 or 6 that I actually really remember, like the hook and everything, and I really remember the refrain, "Here's a resignation from me," over and over again. And yeah, it's a very, dark track. It's very heavy, so it's got that going for it. Next is Thanks for Nothing. Um, this is probably my second to least favorite because I feel like lyrically it's not really all that interesting. It's a little too simple and a little too obvious. And also Steve as a lead vocalist, like he only gets a few lines where he shouts them and he's the lead, but it just reminded me of like nevertheless, and just for the occasion, and summer 32, I did the situation, and all the kind of Beastie Boys-esque rap stuff that they did, which was, kind of fun in a joking manner, but it wasn't like, substantial. I think they should have kept him away from the mic. And Thanks for Nothing is, not a bad song, but nothing I would write home about. Hyperinsomniac Parachondrioid, I think it's pronounced like that, is next, and Billy Spleen. These aren't quite as memorable as they ought to be, but they're still fine songs. And then this ends with Hooch, which is really solid. Again, outside of the first 4 tracks, I would say Hooch is the next best. It's got a great guitar solo in there. It's a little longer than a lot of Sum 41 songs. It breaks the 3-minute mark. And the lyric sums up the whole album's theme of fear and questioning, and does a really good job of that. And it's a really, heavy, nice end. But the last, 30 seconds, 45 seconds of the track are very morose and slow, and, they show some versatility and some thoughtfulness, and yeah, I definitely really appreciate that. So, yeah, it ends on a really good way with Hooch. Yeah, so they had the kind of weird graveyard theme, and sorry about the glare. That's better. Yeah, as usual, horrible album cover. I mean, maybe it was the style at the time. I'm not sure. I get what they're going for. It's like, the old monster movies, like, oh, it came from the skies, and, oh, zombies and everything. And that's... I'm 99% sure that's Steven makeup. It must be. And he's got this stupid look on his face, like zombie, blood. Yeah, so they had that kind of graveyard theme and everything. And yeah, I don't know if later editions had the 2 discs, but I remember hating the DVD. And yeah, but between that and their what was it called? Not Appetite for Destruction, but they had a DVD. That's Guns N' Roses, obviously. They had a DVD out at the time, or a couple years later, and it was them performing live and backstage stuff, and also that too. Like, I like the punk rockers and everything, but I just didn't like all the, stupid humor and toilet humor. It's just not my thing. And really, also, like, I know people like zombies and that. There's no trope I like less in, like, movies and stuff like that. But it doesn't really fit the theme of the album that they're joking around, and I guess we have to have some brevity. The music videos too, like Still Waiting is fun, like their take on the Strokes and all the bands, the garage rock bands and all that, the Vines and the Hives, and the whole intro with I guess it's Will Forte from Mad TV. I don't like Mad TV at all, never did, but he's a fairly talented guy. That's all funny. Hellsong, though, like, it's one of the best songs on the album and one of the best songs they ever did. And doing people really like the video, but doing a video with, like, puppets and stuff and toys, nah, that doesn't work for me. I thought it was pretty stupid, actually. Introduction to Destruction. That makes sense, because that was their intro track. So, remember back when CDs showed you what other CDs you could buy by the band, and DVDs? Yeah. Am I even showing that in frame? Yeah, there we go. So, anyway. Yeah, it's a decent listen, and I definitely thought it was cool to go back to it, because in grade, 7, I guess it was, they were one of my favorite bands, and then I really fell off them, and I never really put this on I probably haven't listened to this front to back since maybe, oh, when did it come out? Oh one. So maybe like oh two or oh three or something like that. So it was fun to revisit, and I actually really look forward to listening to Chuck again. I never owned a copy of it, but I did hear it growing up a couple times. So that'll be, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, Sum 41. Definitely different than the videos that will be wedged in between, but yeah, really wanted to do an album review of that. So sound off in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe. You can describe too. That's what the comments are. Yeah, hit the subscribe button and ring the little bell. I always forget to say that because I'm just horrible at self-promotion, but there you go. Does this look infected? Adios, everyone. Peace and love.